The abandoned starship. The metallic screech echoed across the Australian outback as Captain Sarah Chen's exploration team approached the massive alien vessel half buried in the red earth. 3 months had passed since the strange object crashed during what appeared to be a fierce space battle above Earth's atmosphere. The ship stretched nearly 2 kilometers in length, its hull bearing scorch marks and gaping holes that told stories of desperate combat. "Radiation levels are surprisingly low," reported Dr. Marcus Webb, the team's chief scientist, his scanner beeping steadily. "Whatever they used for power, it's not nuclear-based like our systems." Sarah nodded, adjusting her helmet's communication system. The international coalition had chosen her team carefully: NASA's best engineers, MIT's brightest physicists, and military specialists from 6 different nations. Everyone wanted answers about who had fought above their planet and why one ship had fallen to Earth while the others disappeared into deep space. As they entered through a breach in the hull, emergency lighting flickered to life automatically. The alien technology sensed their presence and activated basic systems, revealing corridors designed for beings much taller and thinner than humans. Strange symbols glowed along the walls, pulsing in patterns that seemed almost like a heartbeat. "The artificial intelligence is still partially functional," whispered Dr. Elena Vasquez, the team's computer expert. Her tablet showed cascading data streams as she interfaced with the alien systems. "It's trying to communicate, but the language barriers are incredible. These aren't just different words. It's an entirely different way of processing information." The first major discovery came in what appeared to be the ship's data core. Massive crystalline structures housed information in ways human computers could barely comprehend. When Elena managed to establish a basic connection, holographic displays materialized throughout the chamber, showing star charts, tactical data, and what looked like historical records. "My God," breathed Dr. Webb as he studied the stellar cartography. "These aren't just maps of our galaxy. They show dozens of others. This civilization has traveled between galaxies like we travel between cities." The tactical displays revealed something far more disturbing. Earth appeared on their charts, but not as an inhabited world. Instead, human settlements were marked with symbols that translated roughly to quarantine zone and extreme biological hazard. The aliens classified Earth as what they called a death world, a planet so hostile and dangerous that only the most desperate or foolish would attempt to land there. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine as the translation software began parsing the aliens' final logs. The ship belonged to a species calling themselves the HFY, and they had been fleeing from something called the hegemony. Their vessel had been badly damaged in a battle near the edge of human space, and rather than risk landing on the death world below, they had chosen to abandon ship and escape in smaller craft. "They were more afraid of us than of dying in space," Elena said quietly, her face pale as she read through the translated records. According to their databases, Earth is classified as having the most aggressive and adaptable life forms they've ever encountered. They have records of other species that tried to establish footholds here. None of them survived. The ship's medical bay revealed even more unsettling truths. The HFY had conducted extensive biological studies of Earth's ecosystem, and their findings painted humans and terrestrial life in general as nightmarish aberrations. Where most galactic species had evolved on worlds with stable climates and gentle evolutionary pressures, Earth's constant catastrophes had forged life into something utterly alien to the galactic community. Dr. Webb examined the medical equipment with growing amazement. "Their healing technology is based on maintaining perfect biological stasis," he explained to the team. "They've eliminated disease, aging, even minor injuries through genetic modification and nanotechnology. But look at this. They consider our natural healing factor to be impossible. The idea that a human can recover from massive trauma through biological processes alone terrifies them." The weapon systems told another story entirely. The HFY had developed energy-based weapons designed for surgical precision and minimal collateral damage. Their military doctrine focused on disabling enemy systems rather than destruction, reflecting a galactic civilization that had evolved beyond the concept of total war. The idea of humans using kinetic weapons, explosives, and chemical warfare struck them as evidence of an irredeemably violent species. But it was the ship's central command center that revealed the most crucial information. The HFY had not been random travelers. They were refugees from a vast galactic empire called the Hegemony that had been expanding across the galaxy for millennia. The Hegemony absorbed civilizations through overwhelming technological superiority, but they had encountered something that made them avoid Earth's entire stellar neighborhood. The Hegemony maintains detailed records of every species they've encountered, Elena reported, her voice filled with a mixture of excitement and dread. But Earth and the surrounding star systems are marked as exclusion zones. They actively avoid this entire region of space because of what they call the Terra Paradox. The Terra Paradox, as recorded in the Hegemony's files, described a world that should not exist according to their understanding of biological development. Earth's extreme variations in climate, gravity, atmospheric pressure, and radiation levels should have prevented complex life from evolving. Instead, it had produced life forms of unprecedented adaptability and aggression. Sarah's team spent weeks cataloging the alien technology, but every discovery raised more questions. The HFY ship contained manufacturing systems that could produce materials atom by atom, creating substances with properties that defied human understanding of physics. Their computing systems used quantum entanglement to process information across multiple dimensions simultaneously. Most remarkably, their faster-than-light travel worked by temporarily phasing matter into parallel universes where different physical laws applied. Yet for all their technological advancement, the aliens possessed what humans might consider critical weaknesses. They had eliminated competition, conflict, and struggle from their societies so completely that they had lost the ability to adapt to unexpected challenges. Their immune systems had never developed resistance to the chaotic bacterial and viral life that flourished on Earth. Their psychology could not comprehend the human capacity for violence, sacrifice, and innovation under pressure. We're looking at a civilization that achieved technological perfection at the cost of evolutionary stagnation, Dr. Webb concluded during one of their evening briefings. They've become so specialized for their controlled galactic environment that they can't survive in the chaos that created us. The ship's historical databases painted a picture of galactic civilization that was both magnificent and fragile. Thousands of species lived in harmony under the Hegemony's guidance, sharing technology and resources across millions of worlds. But this harmony came at a price. Individuality, conflict, and the driving forces of evolution had been systematically eliminated in favor of stability and order. As the weeks turned to months, Sarah's team began to understand the true scope of what they had discovered. The alien ship wasn't just crash technology. It was a window into a galactic community that simultaneously feared and needed what humanity represented. The Hegemony's expansion had stalled because they had encountered challenges that their perfected civilization could not overcome. Pirates, rebels, and chaotic forces had begun to emerge in the outer galaxies, threatening the ordered society they had spent millennia building. The final piece of the puzzle came from the ship's personal logs, recorded by the HFY captain during their final hours before abandoning the vessel. The translation was difficult, but the meaning was clear. They had not been fleeing from the Hegemony's enemies, but from the Hegemony itself. A growing faction within the Galactic Empire had begun to argue that their expansion required the integration of chaotic elements, species like humanity that could provide the adaptability and innovation that their perfected civilization lacked. They came here as scouts, Elena realized as she pieced together the final transmissions. Not to conquer or study, but to recruit. The hegemony wants to use us as weapons against their own internal problems. They need humans precisely because we're everything they're not. But the HFY captain had refused to carry out those orders. The personal logs revealed a being horrified by the implications of unleashing humanity upon the galaxy, someone who chose exile and death rather than participate in what they saw as an act of cosmic irresponsibility. In their final entry, the captain had sealed the ship's most dangerous technologies behind quantum locks and disabled the faster-than-light communication systems to prevent the hegemony from learning about their discovery. As Sarah's team prepared to return to civilization with their findings, they faced a sobering realization. They possessed technology that could advance human civilization by thousands of years, but they also held proof that humanity was viewed as a weapon by forces beyond their comprehension. The abandoned ship was not just a gift of advanced knowledge. It was evidence of a galactic community that saw Earth's children as the ultimate soldiers in conflicts they could barely imagine. The question that haunted Sarah as she stood in the alien command center for the final time was not whether humanity could master the HFY technology, but whether they should. The galaxy's most advanced civilization had fled in terror from the idea of humanity's potential, leaving behind tools that could either elevate the species to unimaginable heights or transform them into something that even their creators feared to unleash. The human adaptation. 5 years had passed since the discovery in the Australian outback, and the world had changed in ways both subtle and revolutionary. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in the center of what had once been the Nevada test site, now transformed into humanity's most advanced research facility. The Project Prometheus complex stretched for kilometers underground, housing laboratories where human ingenuity merged with alien technology in ways the original HFY designers had never imagined. "Show me the latest results from the materials division," Elena commanded the holographic interface that had been adapted from the alien ship's systems. The display materialized instantly, showing molecular structures that seemed to dance and shift before her eyes. Dr. James Park, formerly of MIT's Materials Science Department, gestured excitedly at the floating diagrams. "We've cracked their smart matter technology, but not in the way they intended. The HFY used it for perfect construction. Every molecule precisely placed, no flaws, no variations. But we've discovered something they never considered." Elena watched as James manipulated the display, showing how human engineers had modified the alien manufacturing processes. Where the HFY had sought perfection, humans had introduced controlled chaos. The smart materials now adapted and evolved in real time, responding to damage by restructuring themselves into stronger configurations. "The aliens never developed this capability because they eliminated environmental stressors from their worlds," James explained. "But our materials have been programmed with Earth's evolutionary principles. They get stronger under pressure, more resilient when damaged. We've essentially given machines the ability to evolve." Across the facility, similar breakthroughs were transforming every aspect of human technology. In the computing division, Dr. Sarah Kim had succeeded in merging human neural networks with HFY quantum processors. The result was a hybrid system that combined alien computational power with human intuition and creativity. The original system could process information perfectly, but couldn't handle ambiguity or contradiction, Sarah explained to the visiting oversight committee. "We've introduced controlled randomness and emotional subroutines. Now the computers can innovate, make leaps of logic, even experience something analogous to inspiration." The medical applications had proven even more revolutionary. Dr. Rachel Foster had spent 3 years studying the HFY biological stasis technology, only to discover that it was fundamentally incompatible with human physiology. Instead of abandoning the research, her team had developed something the aliens would have considered impossible: enhancement systems that worked with human biological chaos rather than against it. Traditional medicine fights disease and injury, Rachel demonstrated to a group of military observers. The HFY technology prevents damage from ever occurring. But our hybrid approach does something else entirely. It accelerates and enhances natural human healing while maintaining our adaptive immune responses. The test subject, a volunteer who had lost his arm in an industrial accident, flexed fingers that had been regrown using the modified alien technology. But the new limb was not identical to the original. It was stronger, more sensitive, and contained integrated sensors that interfaced directly with his nervous system. "We're not just healing people," Rachel continued. "We're giving them abilities that evolution never had time to develop. Enhanced reflexes, improved strength, sensory capabilities beyond normal human ranges. But unlike the HFY's sterile perfection, these enhancements retain human adaptability." General Morrison, the military liaison to Project Prometheus, watched the demonstration with growing interest. The implications for soldiers in combat were staggering, but he was more intrigued by the philosophical aspects of what he was seeing. "You're saying these enhancements make people more human, not less?" "Exactly," Rachel replied. "The HFY technology eliminates variables, creates predictable outcomes. Our modifications embrace variables, enhance the very traits that make humans unpredictable and adaptable. We're becoming more ourselves, not less." In the weapons division, Colonel Martinez had faced the greatest challenge of all. The HFY energy weapons were designed for precise, minimal damage, the exact opposite of human military doctrine. Rather than simply copying the alien designs, her team had fundamentally reconceptualized them. "The aliens shoot to disable," Martinez explained during a field test. "Their weapons are elegant, efficient, and completely useless for human combat doctrine, so we taught them to think like humans instead." The demonstration target was a series of reinforced barriers designed to simulate alien ship armor. The modified human weapons didn't simply punch through them. They analyzed the structure in microseconds, identified weaknesses, and delivered precisely calculated strikes that caused catastrophic system failures throughout the entire target. "We've weaponized human pattern recognition," Martinez continued. "The guns don't just fire energy. They process tactical information, predict enemy responses, and adapt their effects in real time. They learn from every shot, becoming more effective with each engagement." But the most significant breakthrough had come from an unexpected source. Dr. Michael Chen, a former video game designer recruited for his understanding of human psychology, had been tasked with creating user interfaces for the alien technology. His work had led to something far more profound than anyone had anticipated. The HFY designed their systems for perfect users in perfect environments, Michael explained to Elena as they walked through the facility's central hub. Every interface was optimized for beings who never made mistakes, never acted irrationally, never faced unexpected situations. But humans are messy, chaotic, unpredictable. Instead of fighting against human nature, Michael had embraced it. The new interfaces learned from user mistakes, adapted to individual psychological quirks, and even incorporated emotional states into their operational parameters. The result was technology that became more effective the more human it became. "Watch this," Michael demonstrated, activating a holographic control system. Instead of the sterile perfection of the original HFY interface, the display showed flowing, organic patterns that seemed almost alive. "The system is reading my stress levels, fatigue, emotional state, even my unconscious biases. It's adapting its responses to work with my human limitations instead of around them." Elena manipulated the interface herself, watching as it instantly reconfigured to match her different interaction style. You've created technology that makes us more effective by making us more human, not less. That's the key insight, Michael agreed. The aliens achieved perfection by eliminating their flaws. We're achieving superiority by enhancing our imperfections. Anger makes our weapons more decisive. Fear makes our defensive systems more paranoid and thorough. Even human irrationality becomes a tactical advantage when properly channeled. The Transportation Division had achieved perhaps the most dramatic breakthroughs. The HFY faster-than-light systems relied on precise calculations and perfect environmental conditions. Human engineers, led by Dr. Priya Sharma, had created something entirely different. Ships that could navigate by intuition and survive in conditions that would destroy conventional spacecraft. HFY ships are like precision instruments, Priya explained during a test flight simulation. They work perfectly under ideal conditions but fail catastrophically when faced with the unexpected. Our ships are more like living organisms. They adapt, improvise, and survive through chaos. The human FTL drives didn't just transport ships through alternate dimensions. They learned from each journey, developing increasingly sophisticated understanding of the relationship between different universes. The ships themselves had become exploration vessels in the truest sense, capable of venturing into realms of existence that the HFY had never imagined. But perhaps the most important development was happening in the Psychology Division, where Dr. Amanda Wright was studying the long-term effects of human-alien technology integration. Her findings challenged every assumption about technological advancement and human nature. We expected people to become more dependent on the technology, Amanda reported to the Oversight Committee. Instead, we're seeing the opposite. The more humans work with these hybrid systems, the more they develop their own natural capabilities. It's as if the technology is teaching us to be better humans. Test subjects who had worked extensively with the modified alien systems showed enhanced creativity, improved problem-solving abilities, and increased resilience to stress. Rather than replacing human capabilities, the technology was amplifying them in ways that surprised everyone involved. The HFY used technology to transcend their biological limitations, Amanda continued. We're using it to fulfill our biological potential. The difference is crucial. They became dependent on perfection, while we're becoming independent through enhancement. As Elena walked through the facility that evening, she reflected on the transformation that had occurred over the past 5 years. Humanity had not simply reverse-engineered alien technology, they had fundamentally transformed it, making it more powerful, more adaptable, and more effective than its creators had ever imagined. The breakthrough had come from embracing human nature rather than fighting against it. Where the HFY had sought to eliminate chaos, humans had learned to harness it. Where the aliens had pursued perfection, humans had discovered that superiority came from enhanced imperfection. But as she reviewed the daily reports from around the facility, Elena felt a growing sense of anticipation. The technology was ready, the systems had been tested, and humanity had proven capable of not just matching alien capabilities, but exceeding them. The question that remained was whether they would have the chance to demonstrate these advances before the galaxy came looking for them. The monitoring stations hidden throughout the outer solar system had detected increasing activity in recent months. Ships were approaching from deep space, their configurations matching the profiles in the HFY databases. The hegemony had apparently decided that humanity's quarantine period was over, and they were coming to collect their new weapons. Elena smiled as she considered the surprise that awaited them. They would find humans, certainly, but not the primitive species they expected. They would discover beings who had taken the galaxy's most advanced technology and made it better, who had transformed tools of perfection into instruments of beautiful, terrifying chaos. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when humanity turned alien gifts into human weapons, and Elena suspected that the lesson would be one that no galactic civilization would ever forget. The Galactic Reckoning Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Prometheus, humanity's first truly interstellar warship, watching as the hegemony fleet materialized at the edge of the solar system. 7 years had passed since that day in the Australian outback, and now she commanded technology that would have seemed like magic to her former self. The alien vessels appeared exactly as the Kethvar databases had described, sleek, symmetrical, and radiating the sterile perfection that characterized all hegemony technology. "Contact established," reported Communications Officer Park, his enhanced neural interface allowing him to process the alien transmissions in real time. "They're broadcasting on standard hegemony frequencies. The message is interesting." Sarah nodded, having expected this moment for months. The approaching fleet consisted of 12 massive vessels, each one larger than anything humanity had ever constructed. According to the Kethvar records, a single hegemony ship could reduce Earth's surface to molten slag within hours. But those records were based on outdated assumptions about human capabilities. "Put them through," Sarah commanded, settling into her command chair. The bridge around her hummed with hybrid technology that seamlessly blended human intuition with alien precision. Every system had been rebuilt using the lessons learned from the abandoned Kethvar ship, creating something that was simultaneously more chaotic and more effective than anything in the galactic databases. The holographic display materialized, revealing a being that matched the hegemony command profiles, tall, graceful, with features that spoke of millennia of genetic optimization. When it spoke, the translation systems automatically converted the complex harmonics into human language. "Greetings, inhabitants of the restricted world designated Terra. I am Fleet Commander Zaraf of the Galactic Hegemony. We have come to formally induct your species into our civilization and to recruit suitable individuals for service in our expanding territories." Sarah exchanged glances with her senior staff, all of whom had been enhanced with the modified Kethvar biotechnology. They could communicate through micro-expressions and subtle gestures with an efficiency that would have impressed their alien visitors if they had understood what they were seeing. "Commander Zaref," Sarah replied formally, "we appreciate your interest, but Earth is not currently seeking membership in any galactic organization. Perhaps you would be interested in discussing trade agreements instead?" The alien's expression shifted in ways that the Kethvar cultural databases helped Sarah interpret. Zaref was experiencing something between amusement and confusion, emotions that hegemony citizens rarely felt in their perfectly ordered society. "I fear you misunderstand the nature of our offer," Zaref continued. "The hegemony has determined that human biological and psychological characteristics would be valuable assets in maintaining galactic stability. This is not a negotiation. It is an administrative process. We will establish facilities on your world for the recruitment and training of suitable personnel." Dr. Elena Vasquez, now serving as the Prometheus's chief science officer, activated her console with a thought. The ship's enhanced artificial intelligence immediately began analyzing the hegemony vessels, using sensors that combined human intuition with alien precision. What it discovered confirmed everything they had theorized about galactic civilization. "Their ships are exactly what we expected," Elena whispered to Sarah through their neural link. "Perfect engineering, optimal efficiency, and absolutely no adaptation protocols. They're masterpieces of static design flying into a combat environment they can't possibly understand." Sarah suppressed a smile as she responded to the alien commander. "We're honored by your confidence in our species, Commander. But we've developed our own approach to galactic expansion. Perhaps you would be willing to observe a demonstration of human capabilities before proceeding with your recruitment plans." The pause in Zaref's response revealed something important. Hegemony commanders were not accustomed to unexpected developments. Their society had eliminated surprise, uncertainty, and improvisation so completely that they struggled to process novel situations in real time. "Demonstrations are unnecessary," Zaref finally replied. "Our databases contain comprehensive information about human technological capabilities. You possess chemical rockets, primitive electronics, and nuclear weapons of limited effectiveness. While your species shows promise for ground combat operations, your current technology poses no significant challenges to hegemony systems." That was exactly what Sarah had hoped to hear. The hegemony was operating from 7-year-old intelligence gathered by the Kethvar expedition, completely unaware of the technological revolution that had transformed human civilization. They expected to find primitive primates with crude weapons, and instead would encounter something that their perfect databases had no classification for. "Very well," Sarah said, her enhanced reflexes already triggering the combat protocols that her crew had trained for over the past 2 years. "Let us show you what humanity has accomplished." The Prometheus disappeared. To the hegemony sensors, the human ship simply ceased to exist. One moment it had been visible on their displays, radiating the thermal and electromagnetic signatures of a primitive spacecraft, and the next it had vanished completely. The alien technology was sophisticated enough to detect ships hiding behind planets or asteroids, but it had never been designed to track vessels that could phase between dimensional states while maintaining full combat capability. Zaref's calm demeanor cracked as his sensors reported impossible readings. "Explain this phenomenon. Your ship appears to have violated several fundamental physical laws." Sarah's response came from a position 3,000 kilometers to port of the alien fleet, but her voice carried the same conversational tone as before. "We learned something interesting from your Kethvar friends about the relationship between different dimensional states. They used that knowledge for faster-than-light travel, but we found more creative applications. The first demonstration was subtle, a precision strike that disabled the communications array on Zaref's flagship without damaging any other systems. The weapon didn't fire visible energy beams or projectiles. Instead, it manipulated local space-time to create a cascade failure in the alien ship's quantum communication network. Human weapons technology appears to have advanced significantly," Zaref admitted, his perfect composure beginning to show cracks. "However, our defensive systems are more than adequate to handle primitive kinetic attacks." Elena's laughter carried clearly through the communication link. "You're still thinking like a galactic civilization. Your defenses are designed to stop weapons that follow predictable patterns and obey consistent physical laws. Our weapons don't follow any rules you understand." The second demonstration was more dramatic. The Prometheus materialized directly between 2 of the hegemony vessels and fired what appeared to be a simple energy beam. But the beam didn't strike the alien ships. Instead, it passed through them harmlessly, while somehow inverting their gravity generators and causing their artificial atmospheres to temporarily transform into a substance similar to maple syrup. "This is impossible," Zaref protested as his crew struggled with the unexpected environmental changes. "Energy cannot selectively alter molecular structures while leaving everything else untouched." "Actually," Dr. Park interjected from his position at the science station, "it's quite simple once you understand that reality is far more flexible than your civilization assumes. We've learned to weaponize uncertainty itself." But Sarah was not content with mere demonstrations of technological superiority. The real lesson needed to address the fundamental assumptions that had brought the hegemony to Earth in the first place. "You came here expecting to recruit human soldiers for your wars," she said, as the Prometheus continued to appear and disappear around the alien fleet in patterns that defied their ability to predict or counter. "But you fundamentally misunderstood what you would find. We're not soldiers. We're something far more dangerous. The third demonstration involved the rest of humanity's new fleet. 50 ships materialized throughout the solar system, each one designed according to principles that combined alien technology with human innovation. They weren't copies of hegemony vessels or improved versions of Earth spacecraft. They were something entirely new, shaped by evolutionary pressures that no galactic civilization had ever experienced. "We're teachers," Sarah continued, as her fleet began to demonstrate capabilities that violated every assumption in the hegemony databases. "And you're about to learn what happens when a species that evolved on a death world decides to share their knowledge with the galaxy." The human ships began to modify themselves in real time, their smart matter hulls flowing like liquid while maintaining structural integrity. Weapon systems reconfigured for each engagement, adapting to counter the aliens' defensive strategies faster than those strategies could be implemented. Most disturbing of all, the human vessels seemed to anticipate the hegemony's responses, reacting to tactical decisions before they were fully executed. "Your ships are predicting our actions," Zaraf observed, his voice carrying a note of something that might have been fear. "How is this possible when our tactical protocols are classified and our command decisions are generated by quantum computers?" Colonel Martinez, now commanding the UES Retribution, provided the answer. "Your tactics are perfect, Commander, which makes them predictable. Perfect systems always choose optimal solutions, and optimal solutions follow logical patterns. We've learned to think several moves ahead of logic." The true horror of the situation began to dawn on Zaref as he realized that the humans weren't simply more advanced than expected. They were operating according to principles that made galactic civilization itself obsolete. Their ships didn't just outgun hegemony vessels, they made the entire concept of standardized military technology meaningless. "This ends now," Zaref declared, apparently deciding that a show of force was necessary. "The hegemony maintains galactic peace through overwhelming technological superiority. Surrender immediately or face the consequences." Sarah felt genuine sadness as she prepared to deliver the final lesson. The hegemony represented billions of years of galactic evolution, countless species living in harmony under a system that had eliminated war, poverty, and chaos. But that same system had also eliminated the very qualities that made civilization worth preserving. "Fire," she commanded quietly. The human response was not a military attack, but something far more devastating. A coordinated demonstration of creative destruction that systematically deconstructed everything the hegemony thought they knew about physics, tactics, and technology. The alien ships found their perfect hulls restructuring themselves into abstract art installations. Their quantum computers began generating poetry. Their weapon systems started producing flowers. "You're not destroying us," Zaref whispered in amazement and terror. "You're transforming us into something else entirely." "Now you're beginning to understand," Sarah replied. "We don't want to conquer your empire or rule your species. We want to teach you how to grow again, how to change, how to become more than the sum of your perfections." The final phase of the demonstration involved something that no galactic civilization had ever conceived. The human ships began to reproduce. Using modified smart matter technology and enhanced artificial intelligence, they created offspring that combined characteristics from multiple parent vessels while introducing completely random variables into their design matrices. "Evolution," Elena explained to the stunned alien commander. "Your ships are built to last forever, which means they can never improve. Ours are built to live, learn, and die, which means they can become anything." As the human fleet continued to grow and diversify before their eyes, the hegemony forces faced a choice that their perfect society had never prepared them for. They could retreat to their sterile empire and report that the death world contained forces beyond their understanding, or they could stay and learn what it meant to embrace chaos as a creative force. Zaraf made his decision with the kind of desperate courage that his species had not experienced for millennia. "Teach us," he said simply. Sarah smiled as she gave the orders that would transform both civilizations forever. The age of galactic perfection was ending, and the era of universal chaos was about to begin. Humanity had turned the abandoned alien technology into something its creators had never imagined. A gift that would remake the galaxy in Earth's own beautiful, terrifying image. The Deathworld's children were finally ready to share their birthright with the stars, and nothing in the universe would ever be the same.